This is going to be a strange year in the NFL, and what are the Packers going to look like under year two of Matt LaFleur? Those are the topics for tonight, so stick around. This video is brought to you by Likeable Shirt Designs. They don't want to just sell you a shirt, they want to sell you your favorite shirt. You can check them out at likeableshirtdesigns.com. There is a link in the description below this video. So this is definitely going to be a strange year for the NFL with all the COVID stuff going on. I'm sure everybody's heard about that. They're not even going to have a preseason this year, which I think a lot of fans are actually okay with. But I do think that, it's going to be a strange start to the season. And here to talk about this with me is my good friend and lifelong Packer fan, Mark Padriana. Mark, thanks for being here again.
Mark, thanks for having me as always. Strange year indeed.
Yeah.
I think football is going to be just one of the things that we'll look back on 2020 and say, how did that go down?
Right.
Hopefully it does go down. Hopefully they get a season started and finished when Packers can pick up another Super Bowl ring this year.
Yeah. Now, did it surprise you when you heard that the NFL wasn't going to be doing a preseason this year?
I think based on the timeline when everything started to unfold, I think as the farther or closer we got to the season, the less of a surprise it was. I think going forward, they're probably going to amend that anyway. I know that the owners really like to have the two home gates during the preseason, but I think preseason is 2 games is probably the max you need. I am okay with no preseason this year, although having a new quarterback on the roster that hopefully doesn't see the field this year, I was looking forward to seeing him in the preseason and seeing what he's got, but
Yep.
we will wait, and hopefully we'll wait about 3 or 4 years for that.
Yeah, right. And I think one thing you can say for sure is the NFL will never look the same as it did last year. I don't think they're going to go back to 4-game preseasons. I think they've been wanting to change the format of the season for a long time now, and this is just giving them a good excuse to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I think the owners do like that, the 2 extra preseason games or 2 extra games. So there's a lot of money involved there, but I think I think they've been looking to amend what they've been doing, and this is a good way to kind of get it started, and I think you'll see probably 2 games going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2-game preseason is probably what we're going to be looking at. You still get the opportunity to evaluate your young talent. You still get an opportunity to start your guys out with contact with other teams without really going into games that matter right away.
And I think a lot of coaches are starting to really like the camp scrimmages with maybe one other team coming in and kind of have that familiarity, and you can run some real stuff, but it's not as formal as an actual preseason game. So yeah, I think you'll see some changes on that going forward.
Yeah. And then this being Matt LaFleur's second year, last year it was completely understandable going into the season when people were doubting that the Packers were going to be any good. They were just coming off of 2 years in a row not making the playoffs, which is unusual for the Packers ever since Brett Favre came to the team. They've been pretty consistent about going to the playoffs. So to see 2 years in a row not going to the playoffs, and then you're getting a brand new coach who's not only never coached your team before, but he's never been a head coach before. I could completely understand last year why people were putting the Packers at 8-8 and 9-7. People weren't expecting much out of the Packers last year, but this year it kind of surprises me to be hearing the same talk. Like last year when you had a reason to think that they ended up going 13-3. This year the team hasn't gotten worse, and I can hear the arguments that they didn't pick up a wide receiver, and then the one receiver they did pick up ended up not coming into play this year because of the COVID restrictions, But all in all, I think people should be a little more optimistic of the Packers this year. I'm not saying that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I definitely think that we should have higher expectations than we did at this point last year.
I think Packers fans, for sure. I think there's a narrative out there with the national media. There's, maybe it's a jaded Packer fan that seems like everybody's against them, but I hear it in the media a lot, and I think it's just with the lack of moves in the offseason, I think it's just one more reason to question, this team, and there's not a lot of there's a lot of respect and a lot of admiration for Aaron Rodgers, but there's not a lot of people who actually genuinely like him in the national media. And so I think there any opportunity that they have to pounce, I think they will. But I think, Packer fans, I think we can be optimistic and fairly confident going into the season. Like you said, I don't think we've regressed. I think there were some moves that definitely, would have made me feel more comfortable and more optimistic about the season. But I'm still really comfortable with the direction this team's headed in, and it's just a matter of kind of fixing some things. And we've only cracked the surface of Matt LaFleur's offense, and we did not see the full thing last year. And hopefully we see more of it. It's going to be tough, without the regular training camp and the regular practice time that you have in every other normal season. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think we'll get a little deeper into the offense. I think Aaron's going to get more comfortable, and hopefully, this receiving core that's been, joked about and cracked upon by, everybody and their brother. Hopefully that they step up and they hear it, because there's some guys there's some talent, and whether those guys can, actually stay healthy and be productive and gain that confidence, that remains to be seen. But I think there's something to like about this group of receivers. Whether they can, like I said, whether they can make it happen on the field, that's another story.
Yeah.
But there's some talent in there, and we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see. We got our first game coming up September 13th against the Vikings. That's going to be a pretty big test to start the season out, especially if they're not going to have fans in the stands at that time. I definitely think it'll be strange to watch NFL football without fans in the stands.
That's a good time to go to Minnesota, though, with no fans in the stands.
Right.
I mean, it's a tough place to play, no matter how good the Vikings are, and they're still a very competitive team. But yeah, I kind of like that, going on the road the first game with no fans. I know the Packers have announced that they won't have any fans for the first two games. I don't know what the rest of the league is doing. I don't know what Minneapolis is doing, so I can't guarantee you that they won't be fans there. But it'll look very, very strange, especially in Lambeau, a big open-air stadium with, nobody in the background.
Yeah.
It's going to be strange.
Yeah, it'd almost seem more like a practice, just quiet, and I would imagine even practices can get louder than what a game with no fans would.
Yeah, family night's probably louder than, what
yeah, right.
what they're going to hear. But, back to the receiving core, I think we took a hit, losing Funchess, him deciding to opt out for, personal reasons, medical reasons. I heard there's a couple people in his family that tested positive, so I can't hold it against anybody that doesn't want to do it. I understand it's a different time and it's a strange set of circumstances. So to each his own, and that's fine. But from what I'm hearing with the Packers, they, even though he did not see a lot of the field last year because of injury, they really love what Equanimeous St. Brown brings to the table. They think he's going to have a breakout year. Hopefully he can stay healthy and see the field. But they're really confident in that guy. And you look what Alan Lazard did last year, stepping up to be the number 2 receiver. Obviously, you know what you have with Devontae. The last 2 years, 194 catches, I think, 1,323 yards, over 20 touchdowns the last 2 years combined. I mean, just ridiculous numbers considering, he's getting double teamed and everybody knows where the ball is going. But, a lot of people are down on MVS saying that, he had his chance and he kind of blew it. He's lost his confidence, but you never know. I think you can get something like that back, and he could step up and have a big year. Jake Kumaro could step up and have a big year. We could see more from Sternberger this year. We saw a little glimpse last year, and then having Josiah, the new tight end halfback that they got. So I think there's play. It's not like we don't have a receiving core. It's just maybe not the names that people were hoping that would be on there, but. There's still time before the season. Something could still happen. But like I said, there's a lot of talent in that room. And if a couple of guys can step up, I think this thing could look a lot different.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the fact that you were looking at a team that went 13-3 last year, and we didn't lose receivers.
Mm-mm.
Funches is out, decided to opt out for the season, and we didn't have him last year. He was kind of going to be a wild card. Nobody really knew what to expect out of him anyway.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that had to be a hard choice for him to make, and nobody's going to hate on him for making that choice. But, I don't really feel like we lost anything because he really wasn't there as a part of the team, to really be missed at this point. So, I do think that, everybody on the team, all the receivers that we're looking at right now, Rodgers is familiar with. Maybe he wanted to get another guy or two this year, but he is familiar with the guys he's going to be working with. And I have a hard time believing anybody in the NFL isn't going to give it everything they got to improve and be as good as they can be. So when you look at guys like Lazard, who I think, we really can hope to have a good season out of, and like you mentioned, Equanimeous St. Brown, I think he's hoping himself to have a breakout year this year, and I think he's going to give it everything he's got to have that kind of a year. And I think a lot of it at this point is going to come down to play calling and how well do the players react to a second season under Matt LaFleur's new offense. Last year we could expect to have a couple of hiccups here and there. This year we should be expecting better. This year we should be expecting the offense to look better, and I think this year we should be expecting the defense to look better.
And not to mention that, we had a pretty good running game last year. Aaron Jones had a phenomenal season, and, he had that two-headed monster in the backfield. Well, now you add Dylan back there. You have the three-headed monster, and I know that they kind of swapped out offensive tackles. They got Wagner in, and a long time guy at right tackles moved on. I understand, but they did take 3 linemen later in the draft, all in the 5th round, I believe. The guy out of Michigan is somebody that they really like and think that he can have an impact right away. So, like you said, another year in LaFleur's system that was pretty successful running the ball last year. I think it's going to be even better this year, and that's just going to open more things up in the passing game. So, yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm really looking forward. Hopefully we get the season underway and everybody, not just the team, but everybody out there stays healthy and we can get back to normal and watch some football.
Yeah. And what do you guys think out there? Are you optimistic about the Packers' chances this year? Do you think they're going to do as well as they did last year or better? Or do you think they're not going to be as good? Do you think there's not going to be a football season at all? Go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications every time I upload new content. And share this video with all your friends. Mark, thanks again for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Go Pack, go.
And for the Packer Fan Network, I am Mark Schneider.